Well, this week it's off to England for the British Open, and it's the Tiger Woods-less British Open. It's the first major in several years without Tiger Woods, and we'll talk about that in the first half of this week's show. Joining me is Ledger golf writer Del Milligan for the first segment of the show. Del, welcome.
Thank you.
Well, in the second half, we'll have Tom Zebold on to talk about a couple of Olympic stories and maybe some of the Rays. But let's get to the British Open and the Tigerless British Open. What impact does that have with Tiger not playing in a major for the first time in how long?
Since 1994.
Wow.
1994 was his first British Open.
14 years.
Yeah, so it's been a long time. Tom Watson called it a vacuum without Tiger being there. But you can look at it in one of two ways. You can consider it less interesting because Tiger is not there and we won't be able to see him perform and possibly add to his history. Or secondly, you could look at it as it's more interesting because it's wide open. It's really hard to say who might win this year's tournament.
Well, that's the thing. I think it depends on your point of view, I suppose. A lot of Tiger Woods fans will miss seeing him. I kind of like the pursuer and the pursuee aspect of everybody chasing Tiger, but it'll be interesting to see. Now it's like you say, it's a wide open field. Who do you see as the top candidates in there, top contenders?
Well, the odds makers in Great Britain have established Sergio Garcia as an 8-1 favorite, which moved him up a little bit. When Tiger's surgery occurred, the initial odds were that Ernie Els and Sergio Garcia were 12-1 co-favorites, but this week Sergio's become an 8-1 favorite.
What led to the increase? Was that just the
betting? Yeah, betting. But yeah. I can't see Sergio winning the tournament after last year. You know, when he gave his whining interview after he lost in the playoff to Padraig Harrington. I think Ernie Els might do well. Now it's at Royal Birkdale.
What kind of course is that? Is that the traditional British course, or is it? You just describe the course a little bit.
Well, it's a little more tame than what you might be accustomed to. It's or you could consider it more fair, perhaps, to the players. It doesn't have as many of the odd angles and strange kind of shots that you might get at other British courses, but it's got heavy rough, which is a little different than other courses. And this is the first time in 10 years that the tournament has been held there.
Is it a course maybe that favors Ernie's game a little bit more, or will it benefit some players over others?
Well, Ernie plays all the British courses well. He won the 2002 British Open, and he's finished second 3 times. And Sergio's finished in the top 5 the last 3 years. So those are 2 of the favorites, and I think Lee Westwood will play well. There's always a few Europeans and at the top of the leaderboard, and I think he'll be one of them. Justin Rose might play well. It was at Royal Birkdale 10 years ago that he announced himself to the golf world with that 70 or 80 yard pitch shot that went in the hole on 18, and he tied for 4th. Yeah. But I don't think he's finished in the top 10 in the British Open since then.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be interesting to see what the TV ratings are without Tiger on there, because I think that'll be the true test of just maybe the interest in a Tigerless major, and maybe the impact that he does have on the game of golf. I think a lot of people watch that just they want to see Tiger.
Sure, I think the ratings will be down without a doubt, but I've always looked forward to the British Open because you can wake up on Saturday and Sunday morning and watch a major championship live on TV and
be done by lunch
and still have time for a round of golf of your own in the afternoon.
Yeah. Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens. And so, like you say, it's a wide open field, and that adds some intrigue, I think, to the tournament. So, Dale, appreciate you coming on. It's like I say, it's going to be an interesting tournament, and we'll see what happens. So, thanks for joining us in the first half of the show.
No problem.
Okay, joining me for the second half of the show is Ledger sports writer Tom Zebold. Tom is our college writer and back up on the Rays, and this summer he's also been working on some stories about Olympic hopefuls and possibly some Olympians, and so we're going to talk a little bit about the Olympics. Tom, welcome to the show.
Thanks, good to be here.
Thanks for coming on and joining us. Now you're working on a story, you have a story that you've written about Trey Hardy, is that his name?
Trey Hardy, he's a University of Texas standout, and he has local ties with the area. Because his grandparents, Anne Marie and Tom DeCesare, live in Lakeland.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's cool. So we do have a kind of a local connection in the Olympics this year.
Yeah, definitely. Tom and Trey's uncle Joe actually went to Eugene, Oregon to see the trials too. So they cheered him on.
So now he's in the decathlon?
Yes, he's in the decathlon, and he got the silver medal at the U.S. trials. He finished second. So
how old is he?
He's 24. He's young to the sport. So basically what he was telling me is, he's going to go, his goal is to medal in this Olympics, but that's not going to be the end. He plans on, going to 2 more. So
now we also had another local athlete who came so close, Chandra Brewer.
Chandra Brewer. She University of South Florida athlete, and locally she went to Bartow High School. So she won a couple state titles there, and she finished 4th in the Olympics and in the shot put.
In the Olympic trials.
In the Olympic trials, yeah. And they're taking 3 to Beijing, so she'll be an alternate. But
yeah, she was like 3.5 inches short, I think. So that's got to be heartbreaking. But the Olympics start up in 3 weeks. NBC, I think, on all of their different networks have like 3,600 hours of programming, so it'll kind of
around the clock.
Everything. You're going to be staying up 24 hours a day watching, right?
You got it. Get the coffee going. I'm ready.
All right, well, let's switch gears here a little bit to, you're also working on a story about Rays fans, and some of them have just kind of jumped on board. Some of them have been fans. Some of them have been kind of dormant fans waiting for the team to have a good run. Even though the Rays finished before the All-Star break on a 7-game losing streak, it's still the best baseball they've ever played, and they've kind of got people excited. What are you hearing from the people you've talked to for the story?
Well, speaking of the slide, basically they should have some of these fans come in and talk with the team, because they're basically giving a pep talk. We're going to turn it around. We're going to do this and that. But everybody that I've talked to, it's a good mix. It's about half and half of new fans that are just jumping along within the past year, and also fans that have stuck it out since the beginning years where the team wasn't so good. So it's surprisingly even. You think everybody would be jumping on the bandwagon, and you would just hear, I just started liking the team because they're winning. But it's pretty even.
Have you run into anybody yet just saying, well, I'm just waiting for them to revert back to the old ways, the old losing Rays? Or, I mean, they pretty much don't think that's going to happen?
I don't think so. I mean, they're winning people over, and, a lot of the times now I'm hearing, well, even if they lose it this year, we're going to stick it out. We're going to stay with them. So.
Well, that's what they need, is to have a sustained success. Got to get my tongue twisted back right. Sustained success to draw these people in, because they've had brief runs before and then they fall right back into what they were doing. So.
Yeah, but they're making it fun at the ballpark. I mean, even on the weekends with these concert series that you see at the Trop, people are sticking around for the concert after, and people are having fun.
Yeah, I think. Have you found, at least seems to me, the team itself is just fun to watch. They've got a good group of players to watch. They're enthusiastic. They play hard. The players look like they're having fun, and that kind of rubs off on some of the fans, I think, rather than just the stodgy old professional athlete, arrogant. They're kind of, it's a young mix, and the team's having fun, so they're kind of a fun team to watch, aren't they? Have you got anybody talking about that?
Definitely. There's one thing that they're talking about is these players are approachable. They're young. You can be professional, but they do it the right way. They sign autographs, and they smile out there. They're having a good time. So.
Have they talked about any specific players?
Evan Longoria. That's probably why a lot of the Polk County probably voted for him for the All-Star game. That's the first name you hear when you ask who's your favorite player. Well,
first he's got the name that everybody likes, but then he's a player that's easy to like. He's a good player. He's a fun player. He's added some juice to their lineup.
Yeah, I mean the team's got a fresh start, success, and he came up this year, and he's given them the push, and it's for new fans, it's a new player to like.
Right. So I know on our preseason show, Dick Scanlon, Ledger sports writer Dick Scanlon was just appalled that they sent him down to start the year. He said that that was the worst move they could make. They brought him back 3 weeks into the season. I think they were below 500, and since then they just kind of started their steady climb. He's had an impact. He really has had an impact on the team like that, I think.
Yeah. Now, if I'm correct, as soon as he came up, Dick got him on his fantasy baseball team too. So
there's the priorities right there.
There you go.
So, all right. Well, Tom, I appreciate you joining us. I'm going to do one more topic here that we're going to talk about just briefly is coming up this fall. I want you to look for it. It's going to be on the Ledger's website, www.theledger.com/preps. We're going to have a page for each high school where you can go and get all of the information you want about the high school. We're going to have rosters and results and stats and for football and hopefully for volleyball, for swimming, for golf as we go through the season. Continue to update it. All of the stories will be there. So we're working on that. I just want to give everybody a heads up to look for that. I think it's going to be a good addition to our website. So make sure you look for that. And that's it for the show, Tom. Again, thanks for coming on.
problem.
And thanks
Pleasure
to Del
to be
Milligan for joining us in the first half of the show. We'll be back next week when we take a look at Bucks training camp with Rick Brown. So thanks for joining us.